If there was one sector that was in the limelight last year, it was retail. Essential, non-essential, rural, urban, online versus offline. There were many facets to the retail story. Within that, and probably straddling every angle that I mentioned, there was a debate around the future of retail for small businesses, competition from large e-commerce sites, threat of large format stores, the role of regulation. These were some of the discussions around small retailers. To understand where the sector goes from here, we have three very distinguished panel members. First up, we have Amol Malviya, co-founder Uran. We have Swati Bhargava, co-founder Cashkaro, and Sandeep Homravelli, director of international Shopify. Thank you all for joining us. Swati, let me start with you. Ever since COVID came into our lives, what are the shopping trends that you have broadly seen? Probably, the initial days would be different from where we are now. But broadly, if I have
Yeah.
to ask you, what are the kind of trends that you have seen?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you for having me here, Pran. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, and I've enjoyed all our chats in the past as well. So, just to give our viewers a quick rundown, so Cashkaro is basically a cashback and coupons website. We work with all e-commerce players, whether it's Amazon, Myntra, Flipkart, all the big guys as well, even the new emerging D2C brands, Mamaearth, Mom's Co, Beardo, Man Company, to Pepperfry, Big Basket, everyone across the board. So we get to see trends across the different sectors and categories. And what we saw was, so basically when April started, like that was probably the low point in our business, because e-commerce was paused, deliveries were paused, there were containment zones everywhere, and people were trying to figure out how to actually, like, how to deal with this, right? There were supply side issues, of course, demand was there. So that sort of continued well into April and May. In June, we saw a rebound of e-commerce. It started coming back. People were shopping online even more than ever. And in fact, when we did surveys, people said that 80% of the people said they will not even go offline to shop unless really needed. So COVID was really driving people to sort of stay home and do online shopping, and we started seeing an increase in business, which was more than what we had expected. So last year, actually in the middle of COVID, we closed our Series B, $10 million funding round, which was led by KIP. And I remember when we did the AOP back in April, we had so many questions. But then, coming into June, July, August, we started seeing that growth, and we saw that there were certain categories that were doing much better compared to others. So there was grocery pantry, which was really, booming. Health and beauty was booming a lot. So we saw the D2C brands do more than ever before. And lots of new brands also came up, not only like a Mamaearth and, Mom's Co, but then Wow and Beardo, Man Company, super smelly kind of deodorant brands as well came up. So there was a significant amount of demand for them, which was interesting. And then we also saw education boom a lot, right? So we had Byju's, Coursera, Upgrad, EduTech, Vedantu, Testbook, like everybody on Cashkaro. The education sector was booming. I think back in June, July, the trend was that you want to learn something. If you're home, you got to learn something. So that started picking up. The home category was picking up as well, because people were spending more time at home and they were thinking that, okay, I should upgrade this and do that, and you kind of saving money and going out as well. And then come Diwali, we saw there was a good pent up demand for electronics, mobiles. We had the best Diwali season so far. So, there was a significant amount of pent up demand. And I think some of it is sort of continuing well after, 2020 as well.
Right. So, Amol, if I can come to you, you guys have been busy, right? Ever since COVID came into our lives.
I think everybody's been super busy. I think a lot of it panned out the way that Swati was describing just now. I think immediately after the lockdown, obviously there was a huge supply disruption that actually happened. For I think close to 3 months, the supply was limited to essentials only. The good part of our platform, which is a B2B e-commerce platform, is that more than half of our business is actually on the essential side of things. So we saw some pretty interesting patterns play out. We also, both in terms of the B2B side of the business as well as the B2C side of the market. One of the one of the things that actually happened was a huge acceleration in terms of shifting online, even in the B2B market. A lot of times, people who are not deeply familiar with the B2B market tend to think about the MSMEs as not very tech savvy. Actually, in fact, opposite of it. This is the most entrepreneurial lot that actually exists in the country. Extremely resourceful. Every single way that they can actually figure out how to do business better, they jump at that opportunity. So immediately after the lockdown, when a lot of these wholesale markets, which tend to be extremely crowded places in India, when they started coming under severe sort of lockdown situation, and entries and exits were prohibited, um, a lot of people sort of shifted en masse into all the avenues that were actually available for them. A lot of the sellers and distributors were very entrepreneurial as well. But what happened was that these people understood that I don't actually have to be visiting very crowded marketplaces. I can afford to get my supply in place with the same ease and convenience as that of a typical consumer. All right. Now, on the consumer side of the market, an interesting pattern actually played out, and we saw this happening in a lot of different areas. Um, Immediately after the lockdown, a lot of shops, their supply ended up getting disrupted, and there was this chaos for a brief while. And a lot of people actually started directly shopping for even things like grocery and essentials online. But what happened was that e-commerce infrastructure is not something that is extremely elastic. It doesn't tend to be very elastic. It takes time to actually build up. So there were huge cancellations. People were staying up late in the night just to be able to put their order through. A lot of folks, I'm guessing, in the audience also went through the same pain. People's trust on the neighborhood kirana actually shot up. A lot of people think about this event as something that actually disrupted people's trust on the offline. In fact, it's the exact opposite. People's trust on the offline actually went up significantly, because at a time when nobody else was actually able to supply to them, these guys were still there, right? So your neighborhood Gupta ji ki dukan was actually still there. I'm talking about essentials right now. And that pattern actually continued throughout, even after the lockdown. A large part of that actually carried over. The good thing is a lot of the B2B market, a lot of these MSMEs actually realize the power of the internet is here to stay. Their experience throughout this difficult time was also something that I think permanently shaped their behavior and the power of the internet. A lot of them have been historically a little, I would say, circumspect about internet, because internet technology in particular has tended to disrupt the life of the MSMEs in particular, historically speaking. But we've got new age platforms, like Udaan is one of them, and there are a whole bunch of others as well, which is now focusing on how to empower these people with the power of internet than actually come in the way of them. All right, and that's an understanding that actually got corrected significantly during the last year, and I am very confident that this will continue for a very long time.
Right. So Sandeep, Shopify was another platform which probably had a good time. And so where was this demand for your services coming from? Was it from the retailers? I know you work across the industry. Were it retailers? Were it manufacturers? What was happening actually?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, thanks for having me on the panel, and I totally agree with some of the trends that Swati and Amod spoke about in terms of what we've seen, the retail landscape changing. And to your point, I think Shopify, for those who may not be aware, is sort of a commerce platform that enables retail businesses of any size, whether you are 1 person, 2 person entrepreneur, who's just about like starting off and getting to start their business, all the way up to like the global brands who are spread across multiple countries. And I think the idea is that we act as a platform that is at the core of the business for any business, and act as a retail operating system. So there's sort of like this hub, and then you have like these different spokes in terms of all the channels that you can probably sell to and reach out to your consumers. And to your point, Pran, I think the demand that we saw during COVID, I think we were one of those businesses which saw a huge spike in demand as soon as COVID hit, and obviously part of it is because of like the massive shutdowns and like the break in the infrastructure, both from physical retail and logistics that happened. So we did see a lot of business coming in from businesses that are your next door mom and pop shops, but interestingly also a lot of the big businesses that were fairly focused on selling online, even they started realizing how to diversify their presence and how to reach out to the consumers, and the way in which they should be owning the relationship with the consumers. And at Shopify, if we look at it from two lenses, one is of course the consumer lens, and the other one is the business lens, right? I think from a consumer lens, goes without saying that a lot of the people started like shopping online, and like those who were earlier only looking at offline started like buying online. But the other interesting trend which we've seen is that this huge preference and change in preference for independent brands and local businesses. All the brands that Swati mentioned earlier, and these sort of local businesses. And similarly, even from the business lens, I think there's like two important realizations, which is one, you have to go and reach out to consumers wherever they are. You cannot rely yourself on one channel, whether it is like just an offline store or whether just a marketplace. I think the idea is that you reach out to the consumers wherever they are, and then try and diversify the presence, right? So a lot of the brands which are earlier selling only on marketplaces or who had only one store, I think one of the things that COVID did was basically just move them to look at other channels and consider how they can like spread their presence, right? Like, I mean, Amod spoke about like these crowded wholesale shops. A lot of them started selling even on WhatsApp by like just sending messages and saying, hey, do you want, I can deliver. The other important realization, at least from a business standpoint, I think, is the importance of being able to service locally, right? Like all those businesses who were earlier, let's say, having an online presence, they could have their presence in one part and they could service everywhere, or at least that was sort of like that the premise of like setting up an online business. But I think being able to service locally also became super important, and that was primarily because of the restrictions. But even beyond that, I think the benefits of being able to reach out to the consumers fairly quickly, building that trust, all of those things added in. So I think those are the two trends. But yeah, one interesting trend from a demand standpoint in terms of where we saw the demand from, these categories like food or FMCG or grocery, for example, they were not really heavy on like on online presence earlier, but even they started like thinking of how do I set up my online presence, be it through my own store or like opening up a shop on Instagram, Facebook, what have you, or even marketplaces, or like even like grocery marketplaces like Big Basket or any of these. So I think that has been like a big change in the demand. The categories like fashion or home accessories, those have traditionally been strong, in terms of selling online. But I think these newer categories and merchants and businesses from these newer categories really saw a big spike because of COVID.
Right. So one thing is clear that retail is one of the very few sectors probably which did not see any adverse impact of the pandemic. So Swati, coming to you, you guys have done something interesting. While a lot of people made the shift online, uh, not necessarily offline, but you guys went and partnered with kirana stores. I think it's called Earn Grow or something like that. uh, I'm sure there has to be some learning behind that move. So, what made you transition to that?
Well, so so our business, we have Cash Karo. Last year, we actually launched a brand called Earn Karo, and what Earn Karo does is that you can share deals from all e-commerce sites onto your WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, and if anybody buys from your link, you earn commission. So we have influencers, housewives, students. They're all using Earn Karo to earn that extra pocket money, earn that extra 10,000 rupees a month, which is double income for some people. So during COVID time, we saw Earn Karo also get a lot of new popularity because people were trying to look for extra income streams as well, and in this case you don't need to spend yourself, you just need to share deals. But what we also discovered was that there was a whole new demand set coming out from tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, tier 6 cities, and these were the people that actually want to buy product but they don't necessarily know how to buy online themselves. Two reasons: one, they're afraid of using their credit cards, or paying online is an issue for them, and second, they are afraid of returns as well. So what we've done is that we have tied up with kirana stores in various, if we are in about 12 states so far: Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, Rajasthan, MP, UP, that entire sort of north and west belt, and we're going fast into south and east as well. And what these kirana stores do is that so they are called Cash Karo stores, and a normal customer can walk into a Cash Karo store, place an order with the shopkeeper saying, "Acha, mujhe ye mobile chahiye, which is from Amazon, or I want to buy these pair of shoes from a Jio, or something from Myntra." So the shopkeeper places the order, and the shopkeeper keeps the cashback as well. So it's a way for them to earn money, but what the end customer is getting is access to that product without having to place the order themselves. So we found that this so we call this the Cash Karo offline network. So what this allows us to do is that we started off with targeting only the evolved Indian shopper. Then we went into with Earn Karo to the people who know how to buy online, but they don't know what to buy. So they rely on recommendations from others. And then we broaden up the funnel and say, let's include the next set of people who are really there, and keen to shop, but they don't know how to buy, what to buy. And, they would rather just tell someone, ki mujhe ye kar do, ya ye de do, So sorry, don't know what that was. Probably a window. So I'm in Ambala at the moment. So this is a small town for you. And as we are talking about small towns, I was actually thinking that I should go around and see where should be a good Cash Karo store location here. But that's the trend. That a lot of the new customers coming online are actually coming from small towns, and that's why we went into the space.
What when although you mentioned that the small retailers are entrepreneurial, uh, does it when you go and reach out to these guys and onboard them, does it also include some amount of hand holding where you have to teach these guys that okay, fine, this is what you do and this is what you shouldn't do?
Their access to supply is usually limited. They need to typically visit some wholesale market out there, or they would be logged into some pre-existing network. Breaking out of which ends up becoming very difficult. Why? Because almost all of B2B market tends to run on trust, and trust takes time to build. All right, and that is the trust that essentially then lends itself to trade credit between sellers and buyers and stuff like that. When we end up telling retailers about the premise of Udaan, I think pretty much every one of them gets it in one shot. Okay, the premise is very simple. Right from the convenience of your shop, you are actually able to get access to the supply network across India, across different categories, whether you are a kirana shop owner, whether you are a garment shop owner, whether you are a mobile shop owner, whether you sell kitchen appliances, no matter what kind of a shop you actually have, even pharmaceuticals, which is a pretty new category for us as well. So right from the convenience of your shop, you can place orders, across India, and you can get it delivered at your doorstep. And while doing this, typically you end up getting better pricing, better selection, and based on the kind of relationship history that you create or not, you also end up becoming eligible for credit. Okay, so all of the goodness of the market becomes available to you sitting right at your shop. Now, this is a value proposition that immediately every single retailer gets, because they know how hard it is. And I can tell you, a lot of you would already know that in terms of the hard-working nature of this community is unbeaten in in our country. A typical retailer out there is working for 12 to 14 hours a day. Okay, so the kind of work that we put in is nothing compared to the kind of hard work that these people go through. So every single day that we are actually able to make the life easier is not just something that is gratifying for us, but they immediately get it. And like I said, these are very resourceful people. So there are times when we are actually able to handhold them into understanding every single detail, every single nuance, how to build your credit history, how to be more effective in narrowing down on the vast selection that is available. But even in scenarios where we are not able to do it, they would find somebody in their family. Either they would actually go about teaching it to themselves. Yeah, they would find somebody, ki, beta, can you please, tell me how to actually do this, which is such a privileged position for us to be in, because Udaan is not solving a peripheral problem. It's not solving something which is at the discretionary side of their lifestyle. These are people who are bringing their core trade, their livelihood onto the platform, right? Which means that the amount of responsibility on us is huge, but for them, they are willing to invest far more than what a typical consumer actually ends up investing in the platform. So they are, more than willing to teach themselves the tricks of the trade. Whenever we would do these buyer meetups, this was before COVID. Whenever we would do some of these meetups, people would exchange practices about, tell me how do you actually try out a new seller a little better than what I do. People would exchange notes about who's a good seller and who's not a good seller beyond what is there on the platform. This is a very very well connected, very well communicating community, and extremely resourceful. So by no means are they limited to our efforts in getting them to use the power of the internet. They unblock themselves, and that's such a privilege to witness. And it's, to be honest, that's one of the most motivating pieces of our journey here.
In fact, Pran,
yeah.
if I may, I just want to add here that I totally agree with Amod that the entrepreneurship sense that I have also seen in these Cash Karo stores. I mean, ultimately, these Cash Karo stores are owned by entrepreneurs, right? Who run their own shops, and they have gone out to build their own WhatsApp groups in friends and family. And jo bhi whatever deals we send, because I've got so used to speaking in English and Hindi mix now, because usually I'm on calls with different people. So, whatever deals we send, they actually forward it further to their WhatsApp groups, and they collect orders from them and they place them. So so I could run a Kirana store which has just general merchandise and pantry and, toiletries and health and beauty stuff, but they will be selling like shoes from Ajio and medicine from 1mg and, cups ke set from Amazon. So like stuff that they don't have, they don't need to actually go out and build that supply, because they can sell anything on e-commerce. And they get really innovative and creative. And the other day I was seeing some posts. I said, how does this guy know image pe kaise kya add karna hai? So they've learned Canva and they're doing it, and I mean, here I was thinking, like, are they going to be able to place online orders? So I think the the entrepreneurial spirit is very, very commendable in India.
Right. Pradeep, if I can stay on the same question, what is it that you are noticing? I mean, you deal with non-retailers as well, but what's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, couldn't agree more with what both Amod and Swati have mentioned. I think there's also the other angle to it, which is different. It's always a journey for any of these businesses, right? Of course, there are businesses who are just about getting started, who are probably who are technologically savvy. They of course operate like multiple technology tools, but sometimes it takes time for them. It's a time investment, and it's also sort of like how much do they really want to get something done? And of course, at the other end, there are these businesses who probably are looking for some help. And I think we tackle it in two different ways. I think we provide all the information that any business who's getting onto a platform like ours, which is Shopify, who needs, which is all the help videos, all the documents. And it is surprising that the notion or the presumption is that, if you have if someone doesn't understand what they need to do, the first thing they'll do is call the customer care number and want someone to walk them through. What we are actively trying to see is once you give them a detailed help doc or have a simple video which explains here's what you need to do, the amount of learning that can happen through that is immense. So the first step is of course providing all the tools. So there is a lot of consumption happening through that, and businesses are able to get started. But the other end of it, and that we actively try and do, is sort of support these businesses by building a ecosystem of partners. These are like e-commerce community of developers, people who are trying to help these businesses, whether it is, hey, do you want to set up a simple online store, or whether you want to build a connector to any of the marketplaces, or whether you want to do the shipping to places that are outside of your city. Any of these things, you have these developers who are helping these businesses. And I think as a platform, one of the things that we do is we make our platform extremely modular so that these partners can build on top, and of course provide more value to the businesses and the merchants who are either don't have the time to invest in it, or don't have the savviness to do it themselves. But I think 80% of the businesses typically are able to go through that and then set up their online presence fairly quickly. So
Right. So Swati, one concern that people always had was in terms of internet connectivity when you go down to smaller towns and villages and stuff like that. What is your observation? Is that a challenge? If it is a challenge, what are the workarounds that you're doing?
Honestly, we haven't really felt this to be a challenge. I think thanks to Jio, everybody is pretty sorted when it comes to internet and mobile data. And in fact, what we've seen is that video consumption, which arguably would take more data compared to normal text, is actually higher. So, and we've seen this trend of video consumption and video marketing work better across the board. When we look at small, when we got Cashkaro stores on board, the team told me, because I'm personally quite active on Instagram. I make videos, and all often every day we host like the CK Morning Show and everything. So they said, hey, why don't you record a little message and we'll send it to them. And we sent them that video. It was like 30 seconds, and we got really good feedback from that. And then we are also when I look at Google, Facebook data, we were just doing an analysis yesterday. Again, video is performing much better than than normal even banner ads, for example. So for us, video has been a winner everywhere, and I think that's the trend that people are also seeing. So internet data consumption, not as much of an issue. The only time we've had an issue since we've started this business in about the last 7-8 months is when there was a bit of this farmer strike, and in Haryana, some of the parts of Haryana did not have internet because they had blocked mobile data. So that was, but that was temporary, and it was okay in a day or two. So we didn't really need to find a workaround as such, and people were just holding on to orders. So they were collecting the orders that they had, and then they processed them 2 days later. So I think India is pretty okay on that front at the moment.
Right. So I think those who do not follow Swati on Instagram, I think the CK Morning Show is quite a hit with all her followers.
You saying that means a lot. Thank you so much. I didn't know even you know about it.
I do know about it. So, Amod, any views on that? Connectivity, and then probably Sandeep can also join in on the same question.
No, I think Swati pretty much captured it. I would probably say that post Jio's telecom connectivity, I think it's far less of a data issue, far more of actually availability issue. So what we see is that a lot of these retailers are busy throughout the day. So they would typically end up, that was one pattern that was a little surprising to us, that, we would see traffic happen at 1:30 in the night, 2 o'clock in the night. And then, in our retail meetups, these guys would say that, sir, aap divorce karwaoge. Because my wife is saying, phone pe kyun lage hue ho? And, I'm trying to search for products to actually, sort of purchase. So I think it's far less of a data issue, even when, there are pockets. So there are these very crowded buildings. I don't know if you guys have actually seen in some of these places where, just signal availability is an issue. So even while, they sort of have been trying to get more towers installed and stuff like that, what they tend to do is they would actually have a chotu or a mama somewhere, in a more reachable area, and mama ye wala order lagwa doge. So, just getting, using their family and the extended family for reachability when, whenever they are actually not able to. Say, for example, now that there are brands coming on to Udaan, over the past 1.5, 2 years. There's a product launch that actually happened. They don't want to miss out that window. All right. So what they would do is actually, they would, in case they are in a position where, it's actually going to get a little difficult for them, they don't want to take a risk. They would actually inform somebody, log in karke, make sure that you're logged into my account. Here's the OTP. Go ahead and actually, please make sure that, we are hooked onto this order. So again, very resourceful people.
Yeah.
If anything, the congestion is probably a little lesser in rural India than it is in some of the bigger cities, right? I mean, like one recent macro stat that I was looking at, 23 million out of like the 30 million new users who came to the internet were all from rural India. And they were all like between 19 to 30 years of age, which is amazing, right? Like, I mean, 77% or 78% of all the new internet users are all from rural India. So I don't think like, access is sort of a bigger issue. But I think the more downstream ones are the ones where there is a lot of, a lot of opportunity, I would say, which is like to do with supply, logistics, delivery, or how do you solve for that, or at least like I think that's where there is more opportunity. It's a lot less to do with at least like connectivity through internet.
And Pran, just to add there on Amod's point as well, whenever there is a sale, right? If it's an Amazon, Flipkart sale, or it's a Myntra sale, or whatever sale of sorts, people actually stay up. Like even in these rural areas, like the Cash Karo store owners, they stay up for रात को 12-1 बजे order लगाएंगे, सुबह तक 4-5 बजे तक भी, if they have enough orders, they'll keep doing it because they've already been told that ये वाला Realme phone आए, ये वाला Redmi phone आए, so I need it, and they have all these orders, so they are just at it. So I don't know, I'm totally buy into your divorce point. We get that a lot as well.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So Sandeep, if I can come back to the point that you're talking about, you guys have a bunch of, what we can say, add-ons, say inventory management, payments. I just want to know, get a sense of what are the kind of demand or what are the kind of subscription for services like that from the merchant?
I think, I mean, as a platform, what Shopify provides out of the box is that you will basically have everything that you need to like get started and start your business and start scaling it up. So 80% of the time, most of the merchants, like they would need access to, let's say 1 or 2 payment gateways, access to one shipping integrator who can like give them access to 80% of the pin codes, and the basic tools of how do I keep track of my inventory, or how do I basically just help my catalog that I have just take it online. And those are like very simple steps that you have when you are like setting up an online store. So I think most of the times for anyone who's starting a new business on the platform. But what happens is that as businesses start scaling up, and one of the things that we've seen, not just it started even before COVID, but I think COVID just gave it a big impetus, is this demand for these independent brands and like brands who are directly reaching out to the consumers. They start scaling, and then I think the use cases start getting more complex, which is like, can I have payment integration which is very specific to their use case, which has a combination of different things, or can I have shipping which basically helps me pick up inventory from multiple warehouses, or can I have inventory like sort of selling on marketplaces, my own online store, Facebook, all of that. So I think the use cases start getting a little complex the moment you cross, let's say 100 orders per day or some threshold like that. And that is when I think, we have all of these apps on our app store, which businesses can sort of use to be able to solve for that specific need. And I spoke earlier about these ecosystem of e-commerce developers. I mean, India is a land of like, developers, right? I think 40% of the world's freelancers are based in India, like software developers, right? And, for anything that you want, you will definitely find someone who in your network, who knows somebody who's basically doing some, some development of an app or some sort of, some sort of integration that you want to get built. So we have these like large ecosystem of partners who are able to help as well, but that's sort of generally the journey. So for someone who's in the early stages, typically they would get everything out of the box. The moment you start seeing some scale and you're able to, and your use cases get a little complex, you have all of these solutions as well. So the subscription for those services is higher when you have like, when your business is at a certain scale, but when you're starting off, I think it's basically most of the use cases are taken care of.
Amol, do you also have a bunch of add-ons that people can pick? I know, for instance, you have a small ticket loan as you provide small ticket loans, I suppose, as well. Uh, what are you seeing?
So Pran, I think first and foremost, Udaan is a full stack e-commerce platform, which means that we don't just create a platform where buyers and sellers get to know each other. We also take accountability of making sure that the item is picked up safely and delivered safely, to the end customer. And I feel that in a country like India, that's one of the biggest um, challenges and a prerequisite to crack at least the mainstream e-commerce. Because what tends to happen is, these retailers, the customers, they actually, whenever something goes wrong, they would never blame, they would never look for just passing on the blame, right? They need accountability, right? And accountability is hard to provide when it's actually scattered between a bunch of different players providing different services. So first and foremost, for all of the core services, so the core marketplace itself, payments, money flow, supply chain, which includes warehousing and logistics, in some cases, credit as well. We take care of all of these things at the core on our own. All right. In addition to this, we do have areas where we bring in additional partners. For example, on the credit side of things. Now, as a company, our ability to fulfill the credit needs of every kind of buyer is actually going to be limited. But we have all the kinds of information that these credit providers can use to make the right decision about what kind of retailers, what kind of SMEs can they provide credit for, depending upon their positioning in the market. So we actually help them go to market to these businesses a lot more in a lot easier fashion. We help them out with the collection and the kinds of things that allow a significantly reduced cost of doing business. And by the way, that's the core proposition of Udaan, right? Our thought process is, think about it, in B2B business, right? There's a core business art of it, art and science of it. And there's this huge running around of things, right? Let's say, for example, deciding what product to buy based on the kind of customer segment that you serve is the art and the science part of it, right? That's the entrepreneurial nature of piece. That is something that we leave out to them. But rest, everything we take care of, not just for the retailers, but also for the brands, the manufacturers, the sellers, right? Very few brands have pan-India distribution, right? And setting up captive distribution models is extremely expensive, right? Today, the way Udaan works for these people is that you can get started purely on the merit of your product and get nationwide distribution. And it's very crucial to understand the power of distribution in the offline market versus in the B2C online market in India. Okay. A typical purchase that a consumer makes in India is in the range of 150 to 250 rupees. Okay. At that cost, B2C just does not work. The average order value on beyond which it actually starts working for the B2C, for online B2C market is 1,200 rupees or something like that. Okay, given the shipping costs involved. All right. So, but in the B2B market, you can actually bring in the same power of the internet, ensure that you have the great distribution so that their customers actually have the same price efficiency of the offline market, but powered by the intelligence of the internet. That is the core value prop that Udaan actually brings to the table. All right. And while doing all of this, we do bring in partners, particularly on the credit side of things, because that's also a significantly under-penetrated market in India as you think about SMEs, because a lot of them do not fall under the so-called organized part of the economy, even though we interact with them on a daily basis, right? Your typical neighborhood Kirana store, not in the organized economy, so-called, all right? But guess what? We repeat with them as customers on a daily basis. So there is no reason for them to actually be so underserved in terms of credit. There are also, certain partnerships that we actually create on supply chain side of things, etc. But the more important fact is that we are a full stack, and we take accountability of the end-to-end picture, no matter whether we are partnering or whether that service is being provided by us.
Right. What if, from the entire discussion that we've had, it's obvious that demand, uh, nature of consumption has changed with COVID. Now the question would be how much of that is going to hold in 2021 and beyond? How much of the changes that we have seen is temporary, and how much of it is permanent?
I mean, in my view, I think most of these trends are going to hold out. They are going to continue because they have made somebody's life easier. There is no reason to change. I think during this entire time, we all have seen certain things happen which were like, okay, this was also possible. And it's actually worked out fine, right? I mean, if you take work from home, for instance, nobody would have thought that suddenly everybody will be working from home for a year and things will still be okay, but they've been okay. And I think that's made people, all of us, reconsider the existing model. Right now, similarly, when you look at the topic of shopping and consumption, I think some of this is going to hold out because grocery, pantry, all these are things that you need very often, and if you can get them delivered at home, then like why not, right? So I think these trends will hold out. The D2C brands, I mean, I've personally tried a lot of new products over the last 1 year, which I will continue using. There's no reason for me to change. So that is going to hold out. The demand, I think the e-commerce surge, like you said, it's coming a lot from rural areas. So when people also there get a taste of the new product and the ability to get that product, why will they stop? So I think all that has happened is going to continue, but yes, more and more new growth avenues will continue to be added. And I think to some extent, if I can say so, like education was a very flavor, was the flavor in like April, May, June, July, but then that kind of tapered off a little bit. But I think everything else is going to continue.
So, what do you think once vaccinations happen? Do you think hordes of shoppers will break their cabin fever and head back to the mall?
Aren't you seeing some of that already? I think see, India has a resilience that is difficult to articulate. You know, um, Even though all of us actually, have played out extremely cautiously and trying to stay away from the market, the reality is that people are out there, right? Because that's how majority of India actually works. Some of us are in a very privileged position where we've actually been able to work from home, like sitting right here in the comfort of my home. I'm actually able to have this conversation. But for majority of the India, it's actually the case of, there are some behaviors that have shaped up, right? For example, even in the offline market, this notion of home delivery actually picked up significantly. It's something that showed up in our research. Our retailers had actually been home delivering a lot more than what they had actually been doing earlier, and happily so. Okay, I think this notion of this whole notion of shift to internet in different kinds of forms, I think that is going to be very long lasting. I don't think that's going to be any shift of internet across the history for any kind of market has been irreversible, right? Because that's just how internet is. It actually changes the way you do things, right? But in terms of people being out there, it's already happening. People actually shopping in malls, in shops, in their neighborhood shops, that had already been happening even in the lockdown phase. Essentials, like I am telling you, like people were almost, even in a place like Bengaluru, people were actually significantly dependent on the offline market than actually the online market, just because of the existing momentum and inertia that exists in the existing supply chain. It's very difficult to break through. All right, and there's a certain confidence that you have that when you walk into the shop, samne jo dikh raha hai, you just can take it and walk out, right? Or you can call up and actually just place an order. So I think a lot of that is actually going to continue. I see the MSMEs themselves becoming a lot more technology savvy. They are already very resourceful and very hungry people, hungry for more business and more opportunities. And I feel that with a lot of new kinds of platforms coming up, not just from the e-commerce kind of an Udaan, they've also been looking for ways of actually better engaging with their customers. And I know that some entrepreneur people, for example, have been using Shopify, in some areas as well. I think there's a just irreversible shift to internet that has happened, and that's going to continue to increase.
Right. Sandeep, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think like similar to Amod, I think it's not like some of the trends that have happened are, things that came out of nowhere. I think directionally they were all headed in that, on those lines, which is like move to internet or like, adopting technology from all of these retailers who were earlier not adopting. I think directionally there were signals for all of these to happen. I think the one thing that COVID definitely did was a mass acceleration of how quickly that adoption would happen. Right. And I think that is not going to be irreversible. And I don't think it was ever a question of either or, like whether consumers will shop online only or offline. I think it was just a question of, it coexisted, it will continue to coexist. I think it's just a question of, what is the level of adoption, what is the bigger trend, and how would, let's say, how would retailers adopt to the evolving consumer preferences, which is like, consumers want certain things. Certain category of consumers want price, certain category of consumers want convenience. How do you, evolve your business by adopting technology to make sure you're able to meet their demand? I think that is what has really accelerated because of COVID, and I think that will continue to stay. That's sort of at least what we are seeing from, some of the businesses that we speak to within Shopify, and I'm sure it's the same all across as well.
Right. So we're completely out of time. So one last question and brief answers. Swati, starting with you. So is it fair to say that the future of retail for small business is online?
No, I think it will remain a mix, like we just said. I mean, while I'm completely from the online domain in every way possible, but look, I don't think that e-commerce in India is anywhere near even the double-digit mark, right? I mean, we're still in single digits. So I think the future of retail business is probably in evolution of product, of variety, of price, and it will happen both online and offline.
Yeah, I would probably phrase it differently. I think the future of retail, MSMEs in general, is actually going to be significantly technology centric, and technology that actually works for these people. Now, technology, the best kind of technology is that which is a little invisible, right? It's almost like magic, just wave a wand and everything actually happens for you. So it's going to show up in different forms. I think online, offline is probably a very binary classification, which is not appropriate in this scenario. But the way that these people do their business is certainly going to become a lot more technology centric.
Right. Sandeep, the last word from you.
Yeah, I mean, we internally have this belief that the future of retail and commerce is everywhere. It's wherever your consumers are. I mean, that's basically, that's the direction we are headed. And of course, it is like powered by technology, as Amod has mentioned. But it's everywhere.
Wonderful. I think one thing is clear from from our discussion today is that years from now, when the pandemic's impact on global business is analyzed, it's likely that the most lucrative change will be how it pushed or actually shoved massive markets into the modern technology era. So thank you all for being a part of this, and it was a lovely discussion.